Thank everybody for joining us today. Coach will go ahead and open with a statement, and then we'll get to your questions. After that, please use the raise hand function, and we'll go ahead, Coach.
Well, sometimes I think it doesn't ever hurt if you really get in a fight, and I'm really proud of the way our team, handled the fight, played through the fight. No one showed any desperation at all in terms of the effort and the poise that, we continue to play with, and, a very, very difficult, game. So the way the guys competed in the game was outstanding, and we were able to finish with a couple stops, and the offense kept scoring. So I think the number one thing about all this is we faced a tough offense. We need to learn, from the mistakes that we made. The only mistake that would be is that we don't learn from the mistakes that we made so that we can get better in the future, work harder at making corrections, and, get everybody to be responsible to do their job a little bit better. Coaches and players included. So that's the way we can improve. Certainly, congratulations to Najee for SEC Player of the Week. You guys have the Players of the Week here, and we're looking forward to returning home, playing against an outstanding Georgia team. This is, probably one of the best teams in the country. Kirby's done an outstanding job there. It's got really good personnel. They play well in all phases of the game. Their defense is especially very, very good. Probably maybe the best defensive team in the country all the way around when you talk about stopping the run, having good pass defense, getting off the field on third down. They've been very efficient and effective in every part of the game. They have good players. They can rush the passer. They can play the point. So really good defensive team. Offensively, they've been able to control the ball. They're one of the leading teams in the country in time of possession. Do a good job of running it, show really good balance. They've got some really good backs. Zamir White is an outstanding player, but they have several other outstanding backs. The quarterback has been very efficient for them. They got really good skill guys. They spread the ball around, play a lot of different skill guys. George Pickens has played well for them. They're a very, very well-balanced offensive team. They have very good specialists, really good punter, really good kicker, very good return guys, and they play really well on special teams. So not a lot of weaknesses in this team. It's going to be really challenging for us to be able to execute the way we need to execute on all cylinders to be able to be successful in this game.
Okay, we will get started with John Zener from the Associated Press.
Hey, Coach. I had two questions, if I could. One is, taking nothing away from the dynamic offenses in the league, but it seems like there's been a number of defenses, probably some of the fundamentals of tackling, execution, missed assignments, or whatever, more than you usually see around the SEC. Does that show how hard it is to do this without a spring? I mean, is that a big part of that, do you think?
Well, I guess you could point to several different things that can contribute to it. One can be preparation, which would include all those things, spring, fall camp, all those things. I think for a long time when we were able to not practice against each other, even in the summertime, we couldn't have 7-on-7. We couldn't do any drills against each other. It's much easier to practice offense on air than it is to practice defense on air because you're reacting to something all the time. So maybe that contributes to it. I really don't know. The tackling, we didn't tackle very well in the last game. We had missed assignments in tackling, probably the two things that were the biggest detriment for us, in the last game in terms of the way we played defense. And I think those are fundamental things that you have to fix. I think when players press, they actually can get worse at those things. You got to play relaxed and confident, and that comes from very good preparation, and that's what we need to do a better job of.
And the other, on Najee Harris, I know you guys have a ton of playmakers on offense, so he's not always going to get 20, 25 carries. But how good did he look, and how much has he improved just coming back for senior year?
Well, I think he played great in the game. I also think the offensive line did a really good job in the game of blocking up front. So he had some opportunities in the game, which we've not been that consistent, but we were very consistent in the running game and had great balance in the game, which I think helps the runners, but it also helps the receivers. So I thought he played outstanding in the game. He played tough. He made good decisions as to the cuts that he made relative to the plays that he ran, and I think that maximized his performance.
Hey, guys, we got a lot of people in here today. Please keep it to one question. We'll go to Michael Casagrande next.
Yeah, Nick, there was talk about sign stealing after the game Saturday. I just wonder if there was any evidence of that or anything you wanted to add to the.
No, I think what I was really speaking to was we were more like, I felt like we were always one play behind. When I say one play behind, I mean, sometimes when you play in the NFL against Joe Montana or somebody really good, you always feel like you're one play behind because if you call this, they do the right thing against that. So I think that was more what I was sort of referring to, as if they knew what we were going to do. And some of that is our issue in terms of how we disguise things. They were going fast. We were struggling to get lined up. We didn't do a very good job of disguising things. So they were able to take advantage of a lot of situations. And, they know us well. So all those things probably contributed to me feeling a little bit like we were one play behind.
Okay, we'll go to Brett Hudson with the Tuscaloosa News.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious what you thought of DeMarco Hellams in the game on Saturday and how he's developed over the last year or so.
Well, we've got a lot of confidence in DeMarco. I think he went in there and did a good job. He's been a really good special teams player for us. He's played some in dime. We just got to get our whole group on defense to play with better eye control and look at the right things so they can react to the plays better. So I think that's probably a generalization for the entire group. But I think that's the only thing that's going to help us get better, and I think everybody needs to do that. But DeMarco did a good job in the game.
We'll go to Aaron Suttles with The Athletic.
Nick, when you scout Georgia, schematically, how similar is what Kirby and Dan do, similar to what you guys do? And going back to when you and Kirby first got together in the early 2000s, given the changes we've seen across college football that sort of favor the offense, how has that scheme changed throughout the years?
Well, first of all, to answer the first part of your question, I think there are some similarities, but they've sort of progressed in what they do relative to the players they have, and I think they do it really, really well. They've got some new things and different things that they do, which is, what we're all trying to be able to grow and develop in. I think they have a veteran team, so when you have a veteran team on defense, I think you can do a little more, and I think they've taken good advantage of having good players who have experience, and those guys execute those things extremely well. I think that through the years, we've all had to adapt to RPOs. We've all had to adapt to blocking, catching the ball behind the line of scrimmage. It's difficult, the run-pass conflicts that are created, but I think they've done as good a job as anybody of being able to make those adaptations.
We'll go to James Ogletree.
Yeah, Coach, when you promoted Pete Golding to defensive coordinator, there was a report that you said his interview was one of the most impressive you've ever had. But he said during this fall camp that one of the things he learned from last year was that the head knowledge can only get you so far because you have to put the calls in context of the personnel that you have. I'm curious, now that you have experienced guys like Dylan and LeBrian back, how do you feel the defense has been in terms of players being put in the best position to be successful? And what is your discussion with Pete like in forming the game plan and in-game play calling?
Well, first of all, I don't think, that the call is necessarily the issue. I think the execution of the call has been the issue. Sometimes we coach players for what we want them to be, but we really need to coach them for what they are. And when I say that, I'm talking about how much experience do they have, how much can they handle, how much can they execute. So if the players are mis-executing, that's not a good thing from a coaching standpoint, because that means we have to do a better job of teaching them, or make sure we're not trying to teach them too much so they go out there and can't perform well with confidence and make the plays that we'd like for them to make. So you mentioned 2 players that have experience, but we have 11 guys out there at once. So it only takes one guy to make a mistake. And when everybody gives it my bad one time, that's 11 mistakes. Well, that can be a lot of yards. And, we've had some guys that have made multiple mistakes, and we either have to get it fixed or replace them. And we're going to work in every endeavor to try to get better. Believe me, no one's satisfied with the way we played. I think it was very challenging, pace of play, all that type of thing with some of the players that we have. And, a couple guys really contributed to a lot of those mental errors, but we just got to get them all fixed.
Hey, we'll go to Tony Sakalas.
Yeah, Coach, we saw Joshua McMillan come in as that fullback role, and he actually sprung a big block for Najee's last touchdown run. How good was it to get him a role, and what do you like about him in that kind of jumbo set role?
Well, he's done an outstanding job in that. He's very instinctive at doing it. You try to put bigger guys there, and we tried a couple guys, but he did it the best, and he has done a really good job. He's embraced that role. He's been a great leader on the team, done a good job. Still not maybe all the way back from his knee injury, can run straight forward pretty well, and certainly has always demonstrated great toughness and really wants to do what's best for the team. So he's a great team guy, and he's embraced this challenge in this role and done a really good job.
We'll go to Mark from Athens. Go ahead, Mark.
Nick, I wanted to ask you about the special teams concepts you've seen out of Scott Cochran's group at Georgia. Are any of them familiar? And he also told us in the 2008 Georgia game, he was scared after he made his comment about Georgia would be going to a funeral with their blackout. He thought he might lose his job. Do you remember your reaction to that?
I'm just not one to ever say anything about the other team, and that's about all I remember of that. Georgia has really good special teams. They do a really good job. There's a lot of similarities systematically in what they did last year and what they're doing this year. They're just doing a really good job of executing it. So I don't think it's a new system or something that we do here that they do there. They do a really good job with their own system, and as we've done here, we try to keep the system that we have regardless of who the coaches are.
Okay, unless we have any more, we'll finish up with Steven.
Coach, Najee Harris is one of the players of the week, but Brian Robinson had a big game as well. What did you like about his performance against Ole Miss, Brian Robinson?
Well, I thought both guys played very well, but I think both guys had really good opportunities relative to how we were able to block them up front, the game plan that we had, the way it was executed. So I think both guys played extremely well, but I was really pleased with the way B-Rob came in and, got right to it when he got the opportunity and played with a lot of toughness and was very physical in the way he played and made, good cuts and maximized the plays that he got an opportunity. So I was very pleased with his performance as well.
Okay, we're going to wrap up, Coach, with Jeff Spiegel.
Nick, how impressed have you been with the job that Bennett has done so far at quarterback for Georgia?
He's done an outstanding job. He's played within himself, made good choices and decisions. They've had great balance in their offense. They've got good play-action passes. He's really just facilitated everything that he's needed to do from his position to help all the other good players that they have make a lot of plays. And he's athletic. He's extended plays at times, and I think the guy has done a outstanding job and has really executed well for them.
All right, Coach, thank you. That's all we've got. All right, guys, give us a few seconds or a few minutes. We'll get some players in here for you.
All right, everyone, we're gonna get things started with the players portion. We're here with Christian Harris. If you guys have any questions, please use the raise hand function and we'll get started. First question, over to John Zener.
Hi, Christian. We all kind of have seen what Najee Harris can do the last few years, but how impressed were you with what you've seen in practice from him, and then whatever you saw from the sidelines of his performance Saturday night?
Najee Harris is, in my eyes, the best running back in college football, most definitely. Especially seeing that, we got to go get some every single day in practice, starting in the summer when we do, 7-on-7s and stuff like that. So, when we get to the games, a lot like with the other guys, because we all work so hard in practice. I mean, you see what they do in the game. It doesn't necessarily surprise you. It's more of just like, wow, like this dude is different. But we've seen how the stuff he does before every day in practice. So I guess we don't have the same reaction as everybody else may have. But yeah, it's pretty crazy, honestly. Like watching it every day, it's amazing.
Ryan Hennessy, go ahead.
Christian, this home game, I'm sure, was marked on the calendar for a while, but with less fans, how important are those fans tonight or Saturday night for you guys to come home with the win?
I think, always having fans at a game is, pretty important, especially, when we're on defense, get a little bit of crowd noise in there, affect the offense a little bit. But, at the same time, like I've said before, it's an opportunity for us to, go out there and compete and show the world what we can do. Regardless if there's a lot of fans or not a lot of fans, if they're making an impact or not, we have to execute whatever the game plan is that coach gives us. And I think if we do that, we'll be all right.
Michael Casagrande, over to you.
What was the feeling in the meetings yesterday, looking at film, when you see the yardage they put up, the points they scored? What was the general feeling in the defensive room?
Well, we're actually doing that today, so. But, I watched it personally, like, by myself yesterday. And, I feel like, we of course, we got to get better, mainly working on tackling. But, we're on to a new week now. So, we'll just fix all those things that we messed up last game, prepare this week, and fix it on Saturday.
James Ogletree, go ahead.
Yeah, Christian, we know a lot about your relationship with Dylan and how long you've known him, but I was curious about how well you know Chris Allen, how long you've known him, and what your relationship is like with him.
Well, I haven't known Chris as well as I've known Dylan, but Dylan and Chris are like a lot closer than I am with Chris. But we still played in the same little league, and I got the chance to play against Chris in high school, my 9th grade year, and it was pretty crazy. But our relationship really grew stronger once I got on campus because, all the Baton Rouge people kind of, get together. It's kind of crazy seeing a lot of Louisiana people up here. So, but we have a great relationship.
Stephen Smith, you're up.
Christian, in facing an offense that y'all played against last week, like what's the biggest challenge defensively of keeping that eye discipline and staying focused on your job? Like what's the biggest challenge there?
Honestly, I feel like, as long as we focus on executing the plan and making tackles, I think we'll be fine. That's just one thing we, kind of messed up on last week. But, of course, we're going to improve on that and work on that this week even more. So we'll have it all good by Saturday.
Over to Jeff Spiegel.
Yeah, Christian, kind of piggybacking on what Michael was asking a while ago, the feeling after the game, were you mad? Were you embarrassed? And how much of an edge do you think this team will play with Saturday against Georgia because of what happened in Oxford?
As a defense, of course, you never want to see an offense, put up those type of numbers, especially when you prepare all throughout the week. But, like I said, we missed tackles, of course, that bothers us. They ran on us like crazy. That's something we really harp on, stopping the run. So, of course, we're going to go in with an edge. But like I said, we're going to go in and fix all of that this week and prepare for Saturday.
Mike Rodak, over to you.
Christian, there was some talk after this last game about how it seemed like Ole Miss was always one step ahead and kind of knew what you were calling on defense. When you go into a game, another game in this case, against someone who knows your team really well, how much extra attention do you have to give to disguising what you're doing communication-wise?
I mean, I feel like that's more of a coach question. But at the same time, like I said, whatever the game plan is, coach gives us, we just got to make sure we go out there and execute it 100%. Full effort, everybody running to the ball. And I mean, I think, like I said, if we do that, we'll be fine.
Unless there are any other questions, we'll finish up with Brett Hudson.
Yeah, Christian, what does this defense need to better respond to tempo? Like when Ole Miss situationally went to super up-tempo situations. What does this defense need to better react to that?
I think one thing that really hurt us this past game was, the fact that, of course, like I keep saying, I mean, missing tackles. If you look back on it, I mean, a lot of the tackles, if we would have made them, it probably would have ended up punting the ball or would have ended up stopping us to drive and, helping us get off the field. But, when you miss tackles, you're letting them create more plays. You stand on the field for a longer time. Like it just lasts a lot longer. But like I said, if we focus on making tackles and not missing as many as we did, I mean, we'll get off the field. I mean, we'll be better as a defense.
All right, thank you, Christian. You guys can hang tight while we bring up the next player.